Hello everyone, welcome to Mind Blowing, Health and Wellness with Violet. So this is my first video, and what I thought I would do to make it interesting is to do a video about first impressions. What we're going to do is I'm going to introduce myself. We're going to talk about some mistakes that happen in videos that people try to do about first impressions, and so how that doesn't help us. And then we're going to talk about what the correct way to make a great first impression is, and I'm going to give you some examples. So to begin with, my name is Violet Reveira. My goal in life to help as many people as I possibly can. And that's part of the reason that I'm making this video, is ultimately my hope is that I can reach even more people by making videos and helping everyone understand that ideas, perceptions, beliefs, these things affect how we interact with our world and therefore affect how we feel about our world and how we feel about ourselves, ultimately affecting our health. I really do believe that in order for everyone to be healthier, we need to understand that psychological stuff, so our ideas, the things that are in our head, affect how we interact with the world, both physically, how we feel, and physically, how we feel, okay, and psychologically. There's a mind-body connection that I think a lot of people ignore, that I'm trying to help people to fully understand and reintegrate, because I think that at some point we did know this, but in today's society we don't pay enough attention to it. So that's the reason I'm making these videos. Okay, let's talk about first impressions. Most first impression videos, in my opinion, that focus on tips and tricks, in my opinion, are making a mistake, and I'll tell you why. In order to pull off a tips and tricks, I need to be confident enough to engage the behavior that you're telling me to do. So if you give me some tips about how to interact with on a date, for example, I need to be comfortable and confident enough to pull that off. Now here's the thing. If I was, I'd already be doing it. So, and in order for me to do something, it has to feel organic to me. So behaviors that might work on my girlfriend, behaviors that might work on my sister, it's not necessarily going to work for me. I have to be comfortable to do it. So that's the first problem I have with tips and tricks, is that unless I'm already a confident person, I'm not going to be able to do a behavior that someone else is telling me to do. So this is my first problem, because if I'm asking for tips and tricks, that means I'm right. So that's part one. Now, part two is that whatever behavior that I engage, I will need to remember that behavior. So if I use someone else's tip or trick to do something in an interaction and I do well with it, now I have to remember that that's what that person believes of me and thinks of me. Like, this is the information they have of me. And then if I'm in a different scenario and I use a different trick and tip, right? So every time I do something that's outside of my own character, I have to remember what I did and who I did it with. Because when I interact with these people later, they're expecting something of me. They're expecting me to be like what I was in that first interaction. Okay, great. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about what you really need to do to give the best possible impression of yourself. The first thing that I'm going to say, and it's the most important thing, and actually if it's the only thing you remember from this video, please remember it, is be yourself. The most important thing that you are going to do to give a good impression of who you are is to be you. We need to be careful. It's about giving a good impression of you. You need to be this every time you're going to be around this person. So if it's not authentically you, that means every time that you're going to be around this person, you'll have to pull out this fake version of yourself to be, and that's really not going to happen. We don't pull out a fake version of ourselves all the time. So at some point, they're going to start to see the real you, and now there's going to be a discrepancy. So the first and most important thing about giving a good first impression is being yourself. Okay, let's take this a step further and figure out like why. When I let my personality show, then I'm going to be much more myself, which is going to be relaxing to me. When I let my personality show, I'm going to be comfortable. Again, it's going to help me to engage the scenario. The ideal spouse, the ideal work environment, the ideal friends. They're looking for an accurate version of you. They're looking to say that, oh, this person that I'm meeting, this is the person that I'll be dealing with going forward in time. So if the person that I'm presenting to them is not the person that they're going to be going forward in time with, then eventually there's going to be a discrepancy there, and that's going to cause more problems than having presented a first impression at the very beginning that was more accurate but less enthusiastic. So let's be realistic in the presentation, okay? Because that's actually the best way to make a great first impression. And I think a good example, matter of fact, not even a great example of this that I can give you, and I can give you multiple. There are a lot of well-known personalities on YouTube that you could go and click into and watch their videos, and you'll see like that they give an amazing first impression every video they put out. For example, Gary Vee, for example, Casey Neistat. You know, there are so many people that give this great impression of themselves, superwoman, that every time you watch a video, you're just like, wow. But the person I want to talk about is the person that gives a great example. At the same time, you can see through their history that they didn't start off with the enthusiasm that they currently have. So I'm talking about Roberto Blake. If you go back and watch the first video that Roberto Blake ever put out, you'll see that his #1 mission, and he says it in the first video, which is interesting because I don't think that at the time when he made that video, he thought he would be a YouTuber eventually. And in making the video, at the end of the video, he says,
and I'm going to try and see what I can do about getting you some more videos and some more tips like this, and showcase some more of my own work, let you know what things that I've been doing that have worked out for me and been successful, just because I feel like it's really important to do what you can to build and support the online design community and creatives in general, and I want to be a part of that, and I really think you should too. I think it'll be invaluable to your career, and good luck. I hope this works out for you. I hope to have more tips for you very soon in the near future, and best of luck.
And then fast forward to thousands of videos later, and guess what? He's still saying the same thing. He is very committed to his idea that his videos can help other creative people go out there and, as he puts it, create something awesome. And so what's amazing is that this was a person who, when you look at his on-camera presence is not amazing, but what it is it's accurate to who he is. When you watch his first videos, you know exactly what you're going to get. You know exactly what he's going to do. And you know he's going to provide you a valuable piece of information about whatever he's talking about, which he does. In every video that I've ever watched of his, he's providing information that's accurate to what he said he's going to provide. Now, what happens when we're that accurate about who we are? So what happens when I go to a job interview, or I'm out with new people, and I'm just that accurate about the information that I'm presenting to you? A very interesting thing happens. You are going to be talking about things that are interesting to you. And so in my case, I can talk psychology forever. I can talk about this because I love it. And what you're going to notice is that, at least what I notice, is that some people are enthralled with what I have to say, and some people are like, snore, and that's okay. What's really important when we're out with people and we're talking about, whether it be psychology, whether it be bowling, whether it be, you know, speed skating, or whatever other, hockey, whatever you happen to be into, when we're talking about the things that we love, then what we need to be recognizing is that not everybody is going to love what we love. And that's not the point of making a good first impression. Making a good first impression is about letting people understand who you are and learning about who they are. So it's partially presenting yourself and partially being a good listener. We're going back and forth on those two things. At this moment, we're talking about what I'm presenting. So let's just stick here for a second. When I'm enthusiastic about what I'm talking about, it's going to make what I'm talking about more interesting. So of course, people are going to pay attention. When I'm sharing information that might help people, that's going to make things more interesting. So like, even if we're talking about, you know, skiing, but in the conversation we're not really so enthralled about skiing, maybe the other person, but they do talk about like how winter and the cold and whatever. Well, you know what, my information about skiing also gives me good information about warm clothes, what's the best way to dress, what, how do you keep yourself from getting cold. So even that conversation can take a turn into something that's interesting between the two of us. Again, because I'm interested, enthusiastic, love what I'm talking about, the chance that anything related to what I'm talking about is going to get a good interaction from me is very high. And that means I'm going to be more animated. I'm going to be more interesting. And that's going to help to make a great first impression. Being a good listener, the flip side of this, is allowing yourself to listen out in a social situation for conversations that are interesting to you and becoming a part of that. It's also when I'm interacting with someone that I'm listening to what they're saying, but also I'm listening for things that help me to feel excited too. Right? That's why this is a dynamic when we're talking about making a good first impression. When I'm listening and I'm hearing what you're saying that's interesting to me, then those avenues on the conversation are going to be explored because I'm going to ask you questions about that because that's interesting to me. Right? So there's where, my personality is going to shine through. What I found interesting about what you're saying gets more attention and attraction. So it's really important for you to be yourself. It's really important for you to not just try to follow the person's conversation solely, strictly because they're talking about it. It's about listening to what they're saying, finding the pieces that are interesting to you, and asking follow-up questions on those pieces. And that's going to help the conversation flow better because now we're actually interacting and engaging. Now, if we just talk about work for 5 seconds, I want to point something out that I think a lot of people don't think about. When we go to an interview or when we're in a work environment and we're meeting a new person in the work environment, whatever that happens to be, and we're presenting ourselves, it's so important to be accurate and honest in your presentation. There are people who believe that when you present yourself at work, you should come off as expert in everything. I actually don't believe that that's either good for you or great for your career because, first of all, I can't be an expert in everything. I can't know everything. That's just not possible. But second of all, if I present myself as knowing everything, then when it's time to do the work, there's going to be an expectation that I can just do everything and I don't need any assistance. And all of a sudden, I've created a story where perhaps even if I do need assistance, I can't get it. When we're presenting ourselves in a work environment, the best thing that we can do to give a good first impression that's accurate and helpful to us is to present good information about what we are good at, and then present, or not necessarily present, but understand our weaknesses and not present our weaknesses as strengths. So basically, I'm going to focus on presenting what I know I'm great at, and I'm going to focus all of my attention there. And when I'm asked questions about what I'm not so great at, I'm going to be honest that that's something that I can do, very likely, but I'm still working on. So these are places where I'm trying to improve. I'd love to be better at that. And if there's training and etc., I'm going to focus my attention on helping them to understand, although I don't have that as a full competency yet, it's something that I'm willing to work on. Why am I doing that? I don't want to give the false impression that I'm already amazing at something I'm not amazing at. I want them to see the things clearly that I'm amazing at. Now, when I do this for myself, what happens is that in meetings, in interviews, in every interaction that I'm having with people, I'm going to be allowing myself to ask questions about the things that I don't have as strengths and make comments about the things that I do feel I have as strengths. I'm going to comment and correct any misperceptions you're having on these topics, and I'm going to ask and clarify for myself what's going on in these. It keeps me engaged. It keeps me in my boss's or coworkers' eyes looking as if I'm a full-fledged team player willing to engage, and it helps the scenario to move forward. Every scenario that we are in, we need to be truly authentic about who we are, what we bring to the table as a strength, and the things that we're still working on. I want to add to this because I think it's so important for us to recognize that when we are trying to make a good first impression, now I'm talking whether it's work, social, whatever it is, when I'm trying to make a good first impression and I present myself and for some reason I don't match in this story, whether I'm not matching for the job or I'm not matching for the relationship that's in front of me or a friendship or whatever it is, when I present myself and I don't match, what I need to recognize is that that's not a failure. Every interaction that I have in the world There's a possibility that me and this person are going to match, but there's a possibility that we are not going to match because personalities don't always match. What's super important for me to keep in mind when I'm interacting with people is it's not about matching with everybody. And I really do feel that, again, I'm going to go back to Roberto Blake for this example. He's a great example of this. Roberto Blake does not spend all of his time trying to get every single person on YouTube to watch his videos. He's very specific in the people he's making videos for. Creative-minded people who need to learn how to use Adobe, or who need to learn how to set up their camera, or who need to understand how to market themselves, or people who don't. Like, he's very specific in the audience he's trying to reach because he understands that that's where his interest lies. And so he focused himself on that topic because that's where he's excited and enthusiastic to make videos.
I don't want you guys to watch a video you don't care about just to help my view counts. I don't want to take any time out of your day that you could be spending creating something awesome and making, tremendous artwork or photography or videos or writing or experiencing time with your family or friends or, going out and getting a girlfriend or boyfriend. I would rather you spend the time on something that really matters to you than watch my video for the sake of watching my video. I'm probably the only YouTuber that will say, don't watch all of my videos. You don't need to. I can only imagine that there's a very specific type of person that would need to watch every single one of my videos. That's a very rare and specific type of person, and I don't need to take away any time from somebody that's not that. I just don't. I will be okay.
He talks about the fact that he encourages other people to make videos based on their own interests, some of those interests more wide-reaching than his, and he recognizes that if he would change his focus, he could reach more people. But the problem is that this is where his focus is. And so he embraces it, and he has the number of viewers that he has. And I feel like that's such an amazing thing to keep in mind. When you are trying to engage other people, it's not about how many friends, quote unquote, you have, but they're superficial. It's about how many true connections you're making with people. How many true friends do you have? How many interactions do you have on a regular basis where you walk away feeling like, wow, I really know that person? Or when I'm at work, how enthusiastic am I about the work that I'm doing? I'm very blessed to be in a job that I'm enthusiastic about doing every single day, that I interact with people and I walk away feeling like, wow, okay, I did something there. And if you don't have that, can you get it? And if you do have that, do you embrace it? Are you happy about having it? Do you recognize how great that is? So one of the things that I'm looking at right now is helping you to realize that by accepting that not every person is going to engage with me and be happy, to like me, right? Then what I end up doing for myself is I allow myself to recognize that when I interact with you, and it doesn't work, that's okay. Because it didn't need to work for us, because it wasn't going to work for us, because we don't match. However, flip side of the coin, I need to allow myself to cast my, it's like fishing. I need to cast my line. The more I cast my line, the more chances I make that I'm going to interact with someone who actually matches me, right? Because like I said earlier, if I'm talking about skiing, we really don't match on that, but then we end up talking about something that's related, like winter clothing or shopping or something else that we do end up, or bowling or anything. Again, the more I'm talking about the things I'm interested in, the more chances I have that someone else in the room is going to also have an interest in what I'm interested in. And vice versa. The more I'm listening out for things that I'm interested in, the more chance that I'll hear somebody talking about things that I'm interested in. And that's going to help us to connect, because I'm going to be drawn to you and you're going to be drawn to me. It's important for us to make real connections. So the important thing about making a first impression, a good one, is that it opens the door for people who actually are interested in what I'm interested in to join and connect with me. Now, the other thing I want to point out is that a good first impression, and we say this all the time, I want to make a good first impression, but we need to recognize that a good first impression is based on the impressions you're already making. What I mean by that is this: you're always making impressions. Whether you're interacting with someone you just met or whether you're interacting with someone that you've known for years, you're always making an impression. What we need to be more aware of is the impression that we make every day. How are you interacting with people in your lives on a regular basis? Because what you're doing there is what you're going to do when you meet a new person. Paying attention to how you interact. working on how you interact. So focusing your attention on improving the way that you engage people will help you to improve your impressions. If I allow myself to interact with people in a way that's I'm not pleased with, then chances are when I interact with other people on a first impression, I'm going to do things that I'm not pleased with. By keeping myself aware that every interaction I do counts, and so therefore I need to treat people with respect, I need to treat myself with respect, I need to present a version of myself that I'm happy with whenever I'm interacting with people, keeps me in the position that when I'm in front of someone new, I make a great first impression, right? Because I'm used to being respectful, I'm used to engaging well, I'm used to being myself, I'm used to being Violet all the time. And so because I'm Violet all the time, I don't worry about, well, how's this going to come across? I just do it because it's me. And again, by doing that, this is going to work, right? Because you're seeing the real version, and it's either you like it or you don't. And if you don't like it, it's okay, because there's someone else out there who will. Keep that in mind. I want to go back to the work theme for a moment, because I just want to point out that when we're at work and we have that list of things that I know I'm great at, and I have that list of things that I need to work on, it's a list of things I need to work on. And I think part of making a good first impression is also recognizing that if I want to be proud of myself, I also need to be working on myself. That's something that we do all the time. We're constantly working, improving, growing as people in order to be the best version of ourselves possible, so that when we are engaging with people, so when we're presenting who we are, it's positive. We need to be careful that we don't allow ourselves to stagnate. We don't allow ourselves to just, this is who I am, accept it or don't accept it. It's true, people will accept it or not accept it. The question is, do you accept it? Do you accept that you're not presenting the best version of yourself? For example, running off to the grocery store and you're in your pajamas, or, you know, like, I'm not working so I don't take care of myself. I mean, you should be doing it for yourself, not for other people. And truthfully, if wearing your pajamas out in public is okay with you, then when you're introducing yourself to new people, then that should also be okay with you. So I'm not saying that you have to be one way or the other. I'm just saying make sure that what you're presenting is truly authentic to who you are. Because basically, a good first impression is a realistic impression of who you are. So all of that being said, why should you watch my videos? Well, because what you see is what you get. You're going to get videos that are about the connection between psychology, health, being the best version of yourself that you possibly can be. I really want to help people to understand that our beliefs, our understandings, our perceptions, our thoughts about life, about people, about work, affect how we feel, both physically, psychologically, emotionally, that these things all come together to create your health, whether your health is going to be good or whether your health is going to be bad. My goal is to help everyone understand that psychology is a part of life and it's a part of health, and we can change it. We can act differently, we can think differently, we can believe in ourselves and have a happier life. I want to thank you for joining me on Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet, and I will see you in the next video. I absolutely appreciate that you guys watched the video all the way to the end. This is a good opportunity for you to hit that subscribe button so that you'll see my upcoming videos. And I'd really love to know what you guys want to hear me talk about next. So put comments and questions and ideas for future videos in the comment section so that I can make videos that are going to be what you want to hear me talk about. If you liked my video today, please give me a thumbs up. I can't wait to talk to you guys again, and I will see you in the next video.